So, almost a month ago now, I made a video about the Warriors titled The Warriors Will Be Fine. And that video was centered around the Kuminga situation, which is somehow still dragging on. But I feel like I was one of the few people in the world that believed that situation would work itself out. Just because at that time it seemed like Kuminga didn't really have many options, the Warriors didn't really have many options, and that's still the case. And I still believe it's gonna work out. But when I made that video, my assumption was that Kuminga would be back with the Warriors on a 1-year deal, maybe a 2-year deal that he wouldn't necessarily be satisfied with, but he would have no choice but to accept it. I did not expect Kuminga to have this much leverage in a situation, and I'm not sure how much leverage he actually has, but the Warriors don't have it either, because if Kuminga does decide to take that qualifying offer, it pretty much eliminates the possibility of trading him this year, which means the Warriors would have a Kuminga on their team that doesn't want to be there, that potentially wouldn't be giving it his all, and would just be a cloud over the team, right? I'm not saying that would happen. I'm not saying he would behave that way, but he would be taking a qualifying offer in large part to spite the Warriors, right? So when I made that previous video, I was thinking, okay, there's no way he's going to be on a qualifying offer. He's going to be there on a 1-year, 2-year deal. Then it comes out that Kuminga was offered a 2-year, $45 million deal, but a team option on the 2nd year. Kuminga didn't want to take that deal. Okay, I'm thinking, he'll take that eventually. Then it comes out that the Warriors offered 3 years, $75 million with a team option on the 3rd year, meaning he would have $48 million guaranteed. And this seems to be where both sides are not budging. Now, I did not think Kuminga would get this level of money offered to him in the first place, but the Warriors want it to be a team option. Of course, Kuminga wants it to be a player option. For the Warrior side, if you're going to give him that deal, I kind of feel like just give him that player option, because clearly your plan is not to keep him long term. So why not just give him that player option? Any team that's going to be trading for Kuminga next year is not worried about that extra year. I wouldn't think so. So I think the Warriors might budge on that. For Kuminga, I get why you don't want to take that deal. Either the Warriors continue to bring you back when they don't want you and accept that option, or your new team declines that team option, tries to get you on a cheaper deal. I get it. But if I'm Kuminga's agent, I'm telling him to take that deal. And I still believe that this is going to work itself out, but I'm a little less confident in it, because now it's like, if you give Kuminga his money, what incentive does he have to fall in line, right? I thought it would be somewhere in the middle where he wouldn't be on a qualifying offer, but he'd still be on a prove-it type of deal, excited to get back on the market. But if he has, let's say hypothetically, he has $75 million guaranteed over the next 3 years, why would he behave in the Warrior situation? I'm not making that about Kuminga's character. I'm just saying, if you don't want to be there, the team doesn't want you there, why would you be bought into a team if you already have your money? Like, what are you playing for? If you pay Kuminga and turn around and don't play him again, giving him DMPs again because Steve Kerr doesn't want to play him, yeah, I don't see why he would be, just a good soldier in that situation. I already got my money. I don't need anything from you, Warriors. Just trade me. Whereas if it went the way I thought it would go, like a 2-year, $40 million deal, team option on the 2nd year, or a player option on the 2nd year, maybe that wouldn't satisfy Kuminga, but he would still have to be putting his best effort forward, because you might be on the market this summer again. If he has 3 years guaranteed, man, I'm actually talking myself out of it. And I was such a believer in this situation because there was going to be an understanding in the pecking order. If Kuminga got paid, again, $20 million for 2 years, or 40 for 2 years, there was going to be an understanding that this is not a long-term marriage. You are not a building block of the future, but what you are is a scorer off the bench. And I feel like it could have been an understanding and a buy-in to that role from each side, right? Kerr understands what Kuminga does, provides for the team. Kuminga understands that it's not his show. He's not going to be the future of this team. That's why I was really believing in the situation, because it was becoming clear that we're not building around you anymore. We're trying to win with Steph Curry, Draymond, Jimmy Butler. And if you can help that, you can help that, right? And a 2-year, $40 million deal would indicate the type of player that can help that. A third scorer that needs to fight and claw and do a lot of the little things to remain on the court. And paying him it's not even like they're paying him a max deal or anything, but Giving him that 3-year deal with that salary, to me, is questionable. Like with everything else that's going on, when he knows there's a lot of people on the team that don't want him to be there, and if he does, quote unquote, sabotage the situation, he can be out of there and get his money. That's, I don't know. Like I said, I was fully believing this in a situation where Kuminga was stuck with the Warriors and wasn't quite paid the way he wanted to be. Because when you look at this Warriors team, I know a lot of fans don't like Kuminga, a lot of the coaching staff doesn't like Kuminga, but when you look at this Warriors team, assuming Al Horford is there, assuming they sign DeAnthony Melton, right? You look at this team, what do they need position-wise? They need a backup 3 and a backup 4. That's a lot of minutes right there for Kuminga, right? Again, assuming they sign DeAnthony Melton and GP2. They got a bunch of guard defenders in Moody, GP2, Melton, even Pods. Buddy Hield showed a lot on defense, right? They don't have wing defenders outside of Jimmy Butler. That looks like a role for Kuminga to take on. They don't really have downhill scoring. It looks like a role for Kuminga to take on. Like, this team is really built nicely for a bought-in Kuminga. Not a situation in which you're building around Kuminga, but you got Steph Curry, you got Jimmy Butler, you got Draymond Green. Those are all guys that need finishers around them. That's Kuminga. A lot of the Kuminga struggles, you could point to the fact that he's had to play with non-spacers at center and at the 4. It's Draymond, it's Looney, it's TJD, even lineups with GP2. And you look at it this year and they're shooting all over the court. And Steph Curry, obviously, Buddy Hield, Moses Moody, Quinn Post, Al Horford, DeAnthony Melton, right? Not a volume shooter, but a good shooter. I'm going to call Quentin Post an elite shooter. Maybe I end up being wrong in that. There's a real chance I end up being wrong in that. But if Quentin Post is an elite shooter, we're talking about a team with 3 elite shooters in Steph Curry, Buddy Hield, Quentin Post, and you got Al Horford, Moody, DeAnthony. Like, there's a lot of shooting on this court. Again, a perfect fit for a slashing wing like Kuminga. So there is a clear role on this team for him to get, 15 to 20 minutes a night and be a really impactful player. But when you pay him what they might be paying him, it's going to be hard for him to buy into that role. When he can feel like, okay, if I don't do the little things, maybe they'll just trade me and I can get this situation over with. So yeah, I was believing, but I'm really starting not to believe in the hypothetical where he does get paid, because what happens when he gets that DNP? Because we know Steve Kerr is not going to budge on it just because he's getting paid now, right? Steve Kerr, love him or hate him, you got to respect him standing on what he believes in, right? This is a guy who benched Klay Thompson, right? A lot of people thought, Klay was probably mad for a bevy of reasons, right? But people love to say that Klay was upset that Pods took his spot, right? Which is probably true. But I remember the game that really set Klay off. It was the game that Guy Santos closed over him. It was in Brooklyn. Klay was fuming, walking around the court after the game. It was that game for sure that was the tipping point for Klay. So no one's above it, and you got to respect Steve Kerr for that. But I feel like he would have been more likely to buy into it if Kuminga was on this 2-year deal. If he was on this 1-1, right? With the team option, right? Because in that scenario, you're pretty much a mercenary, you're hired. We're going to use what you do best and get the most out of you. When you're here long-term and you're a young player that was drafted by this team and they give you this deal, it indicates that we're building around you. And now something that is a bad habit that we could ignore in a limited role is something that we can't encourage you to do, if that makes any sense. I don't know why it's not the same at all, but the first thing that came to mind was like older Melo. Like Melo with the Blazers in that role, when you're brought into that role, great. But the idea that we were gonna build around you, doing what you were doing, no, we can't do that, right? Of course, it's not the same thing, but you get what I'm saying. When it's a limited role, you're playing 20 minutes a night, yeah, we can get you on the block, we can get you on the elbow, you can face up a little bit, you can take a couple bad shots because it's not your show. We're gonna use you in that role, get the most out of you, and it would just be so much easier to manage with that type of understanding. And now if Kuminga is in that role and he gets going and he scores 20 points in 15 minutes, he's gonna be thinking, okay, now I get the ball, right? And rightfully so. So I do still believe in it on the court. I believe in the fit. A lot of people don't believe in the fit, but with Al Horford, Quentin Post, I believe in the fit next to those guys. Also knowing that Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Al Horford are all probably gonna miss time GP2, DeAnthony Melton, guys that are really twos, but a lot of times play the three in this Warrior system are guys that miss a lot of time, right? So the Kuminga, unfortunately, misses a lot of time as well, but those will be opportunities for Kuminga. So I do believe in the fit on the court, but again, like I'm saying, just the mentality completely shifts when you're being paid as a part of the future of the team and not just a scorer off the bench that can help Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green. And speaking of that, the fans that are upset with Kuminga for doing what's best for him and his family and his career, idiotic. The people that believe that Kuminga is supposed to be caring more about Steph Curry getting ring number 5 than his own life, crazy, right? There's people really out there like you're gonna sabotage Steph Curry's last chance. What? I'm trying to get paid millions of dollars to feed my family for generations, and you're talking to me about getting Steph Curry number 5. I think all the players on the team understand that. Hopefully that's just a fan thing. And then also the reporting that people in the Warriors front office wanted Franz, but Joe Lacob wanted Kuminga. Is there probably truth to that? Yes. But do we think Franz Wagner would be Franz Wagner if he went to the Warriors? He would probably be like Evan Turner, who was a pretty good player, right? But we think he would have been able to develop into this with the Warriors? I doubt it. So I'm gonna leave it there. I'm really curious to see what happens, but I'm a lot less optimistic about the situation. I could still see it working. Again, I actually really like the fit if Kuminga is bought in. They need wing defenders, they need downhill scoring, they need athleticism. He provides all of that, or he can provide all of that. So I actually believe it's a good fit. I just think there's going to be a lot of politics involved and it might actually blow up. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Please like, comment, subscribe. It will mean the world to me. We just hit 11,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for that. And thank you guys for watching. I'm out. Peace.